Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello dear learners, welcome to the session of Managing Equality and Diversity. I am Dr. Supriya Jain, working as an Associate Professor at GLA University, Mathura. So in this session, we would be particularly discussing about emotions and moods. So let us understand the topics which we are going to cover for this session. Here we will start with the understanding of emotions and moods. Thereafter, we will talk about the sources of emotion and moods, what form these emotions and how people have different set of moods. Thereafter, we will talk about the concept of emotional labor, effective event theory, emotional intelligence will be discussed here in the session, and finally, we will talk about the organization behavior applications of emotions and moods. So, particularly we are here to understand how these emotions and moods will have a different impact on the working of the employees in the organization. If you look at the learning objective of this session, by the end of the session you will be able to differentiate between the emotions and moods, as they are two different words. You will be able to identify the sources of emotions and moods. You will be able to show the impact emotional labor has on an employee. After the session, you will be able to describe effective event theories, you will be able to understand about emotional intelligence, identify the strategies for emotional regulation, and finally, you will be able to apply the concepts about emotions and mood to the specific organization behavioral issues. So, let us understand what emotions and moods refer to. Emotions are, something which cannot be separated from the person, and when a person has different set of emotion, has a different set of mood, it will definitely going to impact the workplace where the employee is showing their performance. So indeed, some emotions can hinder performances. There are certain emotions which is going to have an impact on their performance, which is going to keep it low, and definitely at the same time there are certain emotions and moods which will help in enhancing their emotions. So employees bring their emotions every day to the workplace. So the study of organization behavior would be incomplete if we are not going to give the emphasis on the study of emotions and mood, because there is a direct link between the emotion and moods on the performance of an employee. So what are emotions and moods? We should understand this. Before we talk about the emotion and moods, first we need to understand they are the part of the affect. Affect is basically a term covering broad range of feelings which are being described as an emotion as well as mood. Emotions are the feelings. You can say they are more intense, they are discrete, and they are also very short-lived, right? Emotion does not last for longer time, right? They are basically affected by some specific event. But when we talk about mood, they are long lived as compared to the emotion, and definitely as compared to the emotion, they are less intense feeling. You will be able to understand about these two terms more in detail with the help of this chart, where you can see what are the different aspects which will be able to differentiate between the emotions and the mood. Like I said, emotion is something which usually been caused by the specific event, whereas if you talk about mood, their specific reason is not very clear, like what causes change in the mood of an individual. Emotion of a person is for a very shorter period of time, they are short lived rather I should say, whereas if you talk about the mood of a person, they are longer than the emotion. It can last up to an hour or maybe for few days as well. If you discuss about the set of emotions, there are various specific emotions which can be there, right? Numerous of emotions could be there. A person could be sad, it could be angry, it could be happy, surprising, so different sort of emotions are being given. As compared to the mood, if we talk about, moods have generally the positive impact or they have the negative impact on the work which a person is going to perform. If you talk about emotions, they are generally can be figured out with this facial expression of an employee. You can see the face of a person and you can usually understand how this person is feeling right now, right? Whether the person is happy or feeling sad or something could be figured out by the facial expression. But when we talk about mood, this kind of what is the mood of a person is generally not easily been read through the facial expression. And if you talk about the nature of mood, they are more action oriented, right? So the emotions we are having right now are more being reflected into our action, whereas this mood is a cognitive, in nature, it is more in the mind where we are thinking particularly about the positive or the negative aspect of something. So as you can see, we are talking about the behavior of an individual, how to have a right behavior, how to create a right force in the organization, and because of such things we need to have a focus in understanding of each and every aspect which causes impact on their behavior. Like in our previous session, we have had a discussion on attitude, right? How does the attitude of an employee forms and what kind of impact it is going to have on the behavior of an person, right? As because if your attitude is positive towards something, your behavior would show the same, right? Likewise, the moods and the emotion of an individual plays a very, very important role in the person's personality, and every person has considerable impact on their performance, right? So further, if we talk about the positive and negative effect of it, we need to understand that emotions are positive, emotions can be negative. Like positive emotions are like joy and gratitude. If a person is feeling positive, then person must be more cheerful. They are feeling, gratitude about something. So that makes the emotions positive. Whereas negative emotions are, showing your anger, your guilt about something. So both emotions, whether it is having a positive impact or negative impact, it is have a effect, right? So if you look at the positive effect as a dimension of consisting positive emotions such as excitement, enthusiasm and elation at the high end will have a positive effect, high positive effect. That means if a person is having a positive emotions in the workplace, will have high positive effect of performance in the organization. Whereas as compared to the negative emotion where we are dealing with the anger, we are dealing with the guilt, it consists of nervousness, it brings stress, anxiety at the high end. So again, it becomes important for a manager to be watchful, to be careful in understanding the different mindset and understanding the different moods of the employees. And not only this, it is going to have the understanding how to motivate these people, right? How they needs to be, channelized, how we need to supervise them, how a leader should be dealing with such set of people who have different sort of understanding regarding their positive and negative aspects of it. Now this is the effect, circumplex, which is here to make you understand what we have discussed about high negative effect and high positive effect. As you can see here, lot of emotions are expressed, but definitely not all of them are expressed. In a circle you can see two lines, one are black lines and the others are dotted line. So the continuum of black lines will help you in understanding what sort of emotion will have high positive effect and which are going to create a low negative effect, right? So here if we will start with the excited, excited on the continuum is showing the high positive effect on the working of the individual, whereas if a person is feeling relaxed, then there is a low negative effect, right? So if you are talking about the behavior of an individual based on these emotions, the set of the outcome of these kind of emotions, this would be reflected in high or low aspects, whether positive or negative. If a person is feeling bored, then in that case the low positive effect will be shown, and if an individual is nervous, then high negative effect will be shown in their behavior, right? And if you talk about the dotted line which are shown here, Like for example, the happy and the content, these two aspects can have a high positive effect, or they can also have a low negative effect depending upon the circumstances, depending upon the situation. So this is the model which is going to help you in understanding the effect circumflex, how the effect is going to be created, how it is going to channelize the behavior of an individual. Likewise, on the other side, the upset and the sad emotions can have high negative effect also, and they can also have a low positive effect. Okay. So we need to understand based on this circumflex how the behavior, how the mood and the emotion of an individuals will have different effect in the working. As we have studied so far, emotions are playing a very important role, and we have also understood that there are numerous emotions which are which can be there, but with lot of research and lot of understanding, the scientists and the researchers comes to a point that we have 6 universal emotions. Generally we take care of these emotions at the workplaces. They are anger, fear, sadness, happiness, disgust and surprise. So we are not studying all the emotions, since we have long list of emotions which could be written, but definitely these are some of the set of emotions which are universally accepted by the researchers for the study to know more about the impact of such emotions on the working of the employees. Now comes the another important concept which is considered to be as a moral emotion. So we have got a good idea about what emotions refers to. Now we are adding one more word to it, that is called as moral emotion. So moral emotion is something which comes from our moral values, right? The beliefs which an individual is having. So emotions that are having moral implications because of our instant judgment of the situations that evokes them, right? So emotion is something which is which is not very permanent, right, which comes and which stays in your mind. As we have discussed, it is not very long lasting, but based on something which you are seeing in the organization, and sometimes you see that things are not going in a right direction, right, or sometimes they are going beyond your expectations. So different sort of emotions might emerge during the point. So there you can attach your feelings to be considered as a moral emotion. So here the researchers indicate that our response to the moral emotion differs from our responses to the other emotion. Okay. So moral emotions are generally different from our regular course of emotion, because that is because of something which we are seeing, because of something which we are observing, and where we are keeping our consideration of the things whether they are right or wrong. So when we feel moral anger, we may be more likely to confront the situation that causes it than just when we feel angry. So this is something which is important to understand. Suppose if I am feeling angry, so it might be possible that I might not be showing my behavior or emotion in the workplace just because I am angry. But if I found something wrong in my organization, or if someone is being treated unfairly or injustice has been done to that person, so according to this, my moral emotion will emerges, and I might feel like that this person is not being treated fairly, which is not right, right? This person should be given certain kind of understanding which the person deserves. So because of that, this moral emotion occurs, and I might feel unpleasant, or I might feel angry during the point of time, and to safeguard the situation, I might confront the situations to provide some kind of relief to that person. Okay. So moral emotions, generally we reflect and we confront those kind of moral things, because we feel that certain things which are happening in the organizations might not going in the right direction. So moral emotion depends on the situations, right, and normative content more so that other emotions, because morality differs from one culture to the next. So this is again important. Emotions are one person's own feeling, but when we talk about moral emotions is related to our culture, right, to the value system, and moral values inculcate in a very early age of an individual, right. In our childhood only we used to inculcate the things based on the culture which we have seen, our family, our religion, right? So it is not necessary like what is morally right for me would be right for other person also. My moral values would be different from others, my moral culture would be different from others. So as per the understanding of our own culture, religions and value system, we inculcate these moral emotions, and when these moral emotions emerges due to certain situation, due to certain circumstances, we try to we try to confront with those emotions as compared to our own individual emotions. Now if you look at the sources of emotion and moods, what is the source, right? From where does they come, right? So these are the sources which we are going to discuss and to have a better understanding which causes the certain emotions. So the very first is the personality. As we all know, personality of an individual plays a very important role in understanding the attitude, in understanding the behavior, in understanding the emotions, the moods of an individual, the perception of an individual. Okay. So people have different set of personalities. Some people are happy go round, right? So they generally don't take much stress. They are the people who always feel relaxed, they want to enjoy. So such people are usually in a happy go mood, right? Whereas there are people who take lot of stress, like they are always in complaining mode, they feel very angry, they feel very stressed, right? So depending upon the personality of an individual, these emotions and mood emerges, right? So every person has a different set of mindset, right? They have different way of thinking, they have different perception of the aspects. So based on their personality type, since we have different set of people having different personalities, so those personalities will definitely define the emotions and moods of an individual. Time of the day, yes, this is important to understand. Sometimes the time of the day also defines our emotions, or generally they define our moods rather, I should say. So there are various studies has been made in this regard, and what has generally been found that generally the morning time and the evening time of a day is the period where people feel more relaxed and more composed, whereas the afternoon time is some time where people are feeling more stressed, and because of the change in the this could also be changing on the basis of the countries, this could also be different on the basis of the individual's personality, right? So what time of day is more pleasing for you, the morning time or the evening time? Some people feel charged in the morning time, whereas the other people feel charged in the evening time. So their mood and their emotion generally sets as per the time in the day, as is the case with the day of the week as well, right? So generally we have heard these stories that because the weekend is coming, so people usually feel very good working on Fridays or maybe on Thursday, right? Because they know that weekend is approaching and they have some plans where they are going to enjoy and going to have some fun and party around, right? So they are being charged during those period of time, whereas if you talk generally for the very first day of the week, that is Monday, where people feel a little bit more stressed because they are not ready or they are not in the form where they are going to have the 100% of their feeling at their workplace after a good weekend. Okay, so that is also a matter of time where people are finding different days of a week connecting with their emotions and their moods, how they are going to impact. It could be different for different people again, and different countries have different set of understanding regarding the work days of the week. Somewhere people are charged on Mondays, whereas in the other country setup people are feeling more relaxed on the very first day of the week since they have taken good rest on their weekends. Then weather is also one of the condition where it is going to have the impact on the moods and the emotion of an individual. Some people like sunny weather, some people enjoy the rains. So depending upon the mood, depending upon the liking and disliking of an individual, right, what sort of emotions they are attaching to that particular weather is also going to affect the mood of an individual. Stress is the reason, right? In organization we all know with lot of competitiveness, lot of work pressure, stress will always be a reason where people will define their mood, right? And generally we see people who keeps themselves more stressed and they involved in such kind of activities will have, you know, a lot of negative emotions at the workplace, because they are not able to control their stress level, or they keep themselves involved in such kind of stressful situation, right. So, stress is also one of the source which defines the mood of an individual and what kind of emotion they would be reflecting at the workplace. Then there are social interactions, like for example, in, you know, starting off your office in the early morning, your boss has complaints were there about you, and this kind of social interaction long lasting impact throughout the day in your mind, right. So, if you are, you know, some compliments, generally what we say when people greet you in the compliments, and you say that you made my day, because that kind of a social interaction charge throughout the day. But with the social interaction with the people negative, they are, you know, saying some negative aspects to you, then these kind of things will also create certain emotions and will also have a different set of mood set up for you, right. So, social interactions with the people will also you know, have a considerable impact on setting up the emotions and mood of an individual. Sleep is also one of the reason, right, because our mood depends upon the, you know, quality of sleep we are having. So, if we are having a good sleep, if a person taking the rest properly, right, if they are, you know, having the good sense of understanding where they are feeling charged again, then their mood would be happy, right, they feel charged. Whereas, if a person is not able to have a good sleep, right, sound sleep, that is why we say is important for the health as well as for the minds, right. So, sleep is important for every individual to again set the right mood at the workplace. Exercise is again focused very importantly, and in today's time we all know, you know, doing meditation and doing exercises will help you in setting up your right mood and emotion. So, it is important for the individual also, and it is important from the organization perspective. People who are engaged in regular morning practices of doing exercises and yoga, they are having better, you know, emotions, they are capable of managing the emotions better at the workplace, and their moods remains positive, which have a positive effect in the organization as compared to the people who are not following such practices. And generally the gender identity also plays an important role here, because people, you know, men's and women's are different, right, their emotion levels are different, their mood swings have different connotations, right. So, we need to understand here, being a male and a female also defines the difference in your emotions and moods. Generally, it has been considered that women are more emotional, but there is no such theory which says that men are not emotional. They are equally emotional, but as what it has been said, we can say that gender identity also you know, defines the mood and the emotions of an individual. Moving further, let us understand about the concept emotional labor, right. Why we are talking about this emotional labor? Because here we need to understand that emotion plays an important role in the workplace, like I said. So, when we are hiring people, when we are selecting people, we need to understand what sort of emotions people are having and how we can take the use of these emotions in our organization. So, employees organizationally desired emotion during their interpersonal transaction at the workplace. So, whenever we are interacting with any person, whether with our colleagues, with our superiors, with our seniors, right, or with the customer. So, this kind of emotion, you know, understanding we are having is also going to reflect in our interaction. So, emotional labor is the key component for the effective job performance. If you really look forward to keep your job performance, you know, to make the performance of an employee more and more effective, then emotion plays a very important role in setting up the performance of an employee. So, we expect flight attendants to be cheerful, as we all know, right. Air hostess, we want all these attendants to be very cheerful, even if the customer is asking or, you know, irritating them again and again, then they should not be showing their anything on the face, right. They need to know how to deal with their emotion. Like if you talk about a person who is at funeral, right, they need to be sad because the nature of work which is being given to them has to define with their emotion. Doctors needs to be emotionally neutral because every day and night they are coming across so many things where if they would be, you know, expressing their emotions every time, it will be difficult for them to deal up with these situations and to take up the duty which is being given to them, right. So emotional labor is important, but how we are dealing with these emotions depends upon the nature of work and the assignments which we are assigned with. Accordingly, we have to deal with that. So this is again important for controlling emotional display, like whatever the emotions we are having. See, we all are individual and at different sort of time, it's not only ourselves, but the setup we are having, right. We are related to many things, maybe the family, maybe the, you know, friends, maybe the society we are living in have different sort of, you know, interactions we are having with them, and all these things will have a considerable impact on the mindset and the emotion of an individual. So here if we talk about the controlling emotional displays, we have two sort of understanding. One is called as felt emotion and the other is called as displayed emotion. So felt emotion is something which we are feeling from inside. These are the actual emotions of an individual, right. You are really feeling sad or you are really feeling, you know, happy from inside. That is your felt emotion which you are feeling. Whereas displayed emotions are those where you are supposed to display even if you are not feeling those things, right. You need to be happy, right. If you are performing a nature of job where you need to be happy, even if you are not feeling happy inside, you need to pretend to be happy, right. Or maybe some situation you are not feeling sad from inside, but at point of time you also need to show that kind of an understanding that you are upset, right. So that is the displayed emotion, right, where you want to display it even if you are feeling it or not, whereas felt emotions are those which you are feeling from inside, right. So considering these two aspects where we are talking about felt emotion and displayed emotions, we have two you know, things which we are calling as an surface acting and the other is called as deep acting. So you must be able to relate that surface acting is related to the displayed emotion, right, where you are feeling something else and you are displaying something else. That is the surface level, right, which you are not into the inside of that particular feeling or the mood, but still you have to reflect. Whereas deep acting is related to the real emotion, the felt emotion, because if you are not feeling that particular thing, you will not be able to have that kind of a deep acting of that emotion. So displaying fake emotion requires us to suppress the real one, okay. When we have to show the fake you know, emotion, then at point of time we have to suppress our real feeling, okay. So that is the surface acting where we have to hide our feeling and emotion expression in the response to the displayed rule, because this has been asked to us to do, right. We cannot show our actual feelings at that point of time. We have to, you know, suppress our emotion, we have to be fake at that point of time, and that is being related to the surface acting. But when a worker has to you know, display their true feeling, then we call it as in deep acting. So the disparity is also there. If you remember, we have discussed in our previous session about cognitive dissonance, right. So I hope you must have remembered this concept of dissonance. Here in this session we will be understanding this concept of emotional dissonance, right. So like we have talked about cognitive dissonance, where a person is having two or more, you know, belief or understanding about the same thing, but is not able to clear what to do and what not to do, right. The example which we have discussed about the unethical happenings at the workplace, right. If you are in the organization and something wrong is happening, which is not fair, which is not justified, right. So there are two options: either you can raise your voice, right, you can walk against it, or the other thing which you are doing is you are consoling yourself that if you would be raising your voice against it, then there is a chance you might be losing your job, or you just keep yourself satisfied by saying that it is not a part of your job where you want to get into it. Likewise, we are having this emotional dissonance. We have talked about surface level acting and we are talking about deep level acting, right. So emotional dissonance is exactly with the surface level acting, where we are feeling something from inside and we have to display the different character from outside, right. So, disparity between employees having to project one emotion while feeling another, right. You are feeling sad from inside, but the nature of work which you are into needs you to be happy, right. You need to be cheerful, you have to make people happy, then definitely that kind of situation would be considered to be as an emotional dissonance. So, bottled up feeling of frustration, anger and resentment can lead to emotional exhaustion. This is again important. If the people in the organizations are going across this emotional dissonance, then we need to understand it, because the emotions which you are having, if you are not able to express it and round a thing, you are getting into the frustrations, you are dealing with the anger, you are dealing with the resentment, and you are not able to show it, you are not allowed to bring it out, then what happens? It will explode sometime, right. And this explosion will lead into job burnout. You may be declining your performance will gradually go down, you will be losing out the job satisfaction, and there are more nefarious activities like alcohol abuse and lashing out of co-workers. You might not be having some collegial relationships with your colleague, right. So, this emotional dissonance is having generally with the people at many point of time, but if it is going on regular basis, then there might be some negative impact which we have to see in the later phase of our job. Okay. So, managers also need to be very careful, and they need to work on improving this emotional dissonance, and they need to understand what is the emotion and feeling of an individual from inside, because sometimes people behave differently from what they are feeling, right. And it is not easily understandable if a person is really sad or having some anger inside, but it is going to have the impact in the organization which will show on their performances. Moving further, we are going to talk about affective events theory. So, affective event theory is a kind of an understanding that proposes employee react emotionally to things that happens to them at work, and these reaction influences their job performance as well as their satisfaction. So, affective event theory says that based on the emotions and the mood of an individual, their job performances and their satisfaction level in the organization will also get impacted. So, work event triggers positive as well as negative emotional reactions to which employees' personalities and mood predisposes them to respond with greater or less intensity. So, whatever the assignment is being given to you depends upon the mood of the individual, emotions of the individual, which will have a long lasting understanding on the job satisfaction as well as job performance. So, this affective event theory help you in understanding how it is going to create an impact on the working of an organization. Affective impact theory, gives us two important messages which we need to learn, and definitely a manager has to take care of these two important messages. Very first says that emotion provides valuable insight into how workplace event influences employee performance as well as their satisfaction. Okay, so one need to understand whatever the work, whatever the assignments are being given in the organization, what kind of moods and emotion it is going to create for an individual, and based on that their performance and satisfaction level will get impacted. And secondly, employees and managers should not ignore emotion, right. This is important. We have gone through the understanding of emotional dissonance, and we have seen that if it happens for long, then how it is going to be emerged, what will be the outcome of it. So, one should not ignore the emotions or the events that causes them even when they appear minor, because they accumulate. This is important to understand. Even if you are feeling that particular emotion is not very important, this is happening at a very initial stages that we call it minor. But if we are not paying the right attention to those emotions, it will accumulate, and once they will accumulate, they will lead out to burnout, and this will going to create lot of impact on the performance of an individual. So, affective implied theory is all about understanding how the workplace is creating different set of emotions and moods for the employees. because they will have their considerable impact on the job satisfaction as well as performances. Now coming to the another part of this session where we will have our understanding on emotional intelligence. This is a very important concept which needs to be studied for the individuals as well, right? EI जिसको हम बोलते हैं, right? Emotional intelligence is a personal ability to perceive emotions, right? How well you are able to perceive your emotion in oneself as well as for others. Understanding the meaning of these emotions is important because here you are dealing with your emotions intelligently, right? Emotion is one thing, but dealing with those emotions is an important aspect, and that is why we call it as an emotional intelligence, where you are perceiving your emotion, you are understanding the meaning of those emotions and regulate one's emotions accordingly, because not every place allows you to express your emotions, right? You need to understand where you are, what kind of a situation it is, right? How you are dealing with your emotions. Some people are very good in having this emotional intelligence, and some people are having some people are weak in controlling their emotion. So if you are good in dealing with your emotion, your EI is high, right? Because you understand, you know where you are standing, what sort of behavior is being expected at this point of time. You are not allowed to express your emotions everywhere, right? So the important aspect to deal with the emotional intelligence is to understand the situation and how you are going to regulate it, how you are going to control those emotions at that point of time. So this is the cascading model of emotional intelligence, which is important for us to understand, right? One is consciousness, right? Consciousness means you are conscious enough, right? You are aware enough to understand, and where you are able to perceive emotion in self as well as in others. Sometimes while interacting with people, you have to understand their emotional as well, right? If a person is talking to you and you are able to figure out that this person is feeling sad, or this person is not in a right state of mind, even then you have to understand how you are going to deal with this situation. It's not only with your own emotions you are dealing with, but consciousness is helping you in perceiving the emotion of an individual with his or her own self as well as with others. Cognitive is understanding the meaning of the emotion, right? Where you are thinking, where you are understanding what kind of emotion it is, what is the meaning of this emotion, whether you should be reflecting it, whether it is right or not. It's not that just a point of time you are feeling and you just reacted on it. So consciousness give you a right thinking behind it, right? Logical understanding would be there, right? Rationalization would be there, where you would be drawing a true understanding, true meaning of that particular emotion, whether it should be reflected or it should be controlled. And then emotional stability is where you are regulating your emotion, we are showing yourself as an emotionally stable, and you are not just showing it to everybody, right? You keep yourself intact, you keep your emotions inside, and you remain stable, and you feel yourself as calm, as if nothing has happened or nothing has changed. So this is again very important to understand that we have different set of people, and people's personality will have differentiation in showing their emotions and moods at the workplace. Emotional intelligence is one of that aspect where you are very intelligently dealing with your emotions, having control on your emotions, in understanding these situations, how you have to go with it. Now let us understand the OB applications of emotions and mood, right? Since we are talking about the organization behavior, the kind of behavior we are looking forward to have at the workplace, so it becomes important for us to know the applications of emotions and mood at the workplace, right? As we have discussed so far, that there are various aspects of organization behavior where it is going to have its considerable impact. So one by one we will be discussing all those impact, starting from the selection process, right? Then we will talk about decision making, creativity, motivation, leadership, negotiation, customer services, job attitudes, deviant workplace behavior as well as safety. So these are certain applications where we are going to have the understanding how different moods and emotions will have their impact. So let us start with the very first part, that is the selection process. We all know during the selection process of the organization, we need to check various aspects in the individual, and these aspects are generally related to the profile for which we are hiring, right. So, generally we call it as a job specification and job description. So, job description is basically the details about the job, right, the roles and responsibilities, the assignments which need to take up at that particular job, that refers to the job description, whereas job specification refers to the requirement in the individual, their knowledge, their skills, their qualifications, their education in that particular area, so that they would be able to discharge those roles and responsibility in the right manner. So, the selection process has to be very, very evident, right. One needs to be very clear while selecting the employees, what sort of a person are we looking forward to have in the organization. And so far we have discussed that positive people create positive energy, right. So, we need to be careful while selecting people, that we should be selecting people with the positive energy, with the positive vibe, who are having more, showing their more cheerful faces in the organization, right. So, here from the evidence, EI is the employer should consider in the factor of hiring employees, especially for the demands, especially for the job that demands a high degree of social interaction. So, the positions or the organization where the role of an individual is to have lot of interaction with the individuals, right, lot of social interaction will be there with the customers, right. So, at that point of time we need to understand that emotional intelligence of that individual is high. Even if the person is not feeling good from inside, the person should not be reflecting it in their social interaction. Okay. So, selecting positive team member can contribute to the positive work environment, like I said, because this positive moods from the leaders will transmit it from the member. Okay. It is not only the working of an individual at an individual level, right. Sometimes you have to manage the team, right. You will be working at the senior position where a lot of people are working under you. So, a positive leader can only create a positive team. So, keeping all this in the mind, one should start with their selection process. The second is decision making. Again, with this understanding, we say that happy people make better decisions, right. People who are in their angry mood, or who are feeling low, or who are having this sad understanding of the situation, will not be able to make out the better choices, will not be able to make the better decision. So, decision making implies certain moods and emotion of an individual, which will help them to set the right decision. Okay. So, here we need to understand that positive emotions and mood seems to help people make sound decision, right. If you want to make the sound decision, you need to analyze. See, decision making is not a easy exercise. Organization has two important things. One is the right decision, and second is their planning needs to be strong. So, if a wrong decision has been made, then many a wrong pass on things will be there. So, a right manager has to understand, that right decision needs to be taken up, and definitely a person who is deciding and making out the choices need to ensure like what are the aspects of decisions they need to take. Okay. So, positive emotion also enhance the problem solving skills of the individual. So, positive people are in the position to find the better solutions of the problem. Next is creativity. This is important, right. It is not only important if we want to differentiate ourselves. In today's time, people are competing on the basis of innovations and creativity. I hope you are all aware of the same, right. So, creativity is something which gives you some different and some positive thoughts, and these different and better creative ideas will be there if you are feeling happy. And for that reason, organizations which requires creative work from their employees, they try to provide all such kind of conditions and facilities to their employees where they feel happy, right, they feel satisfied, because that is going to bring something different in them, right. They have to think out of the box, and if they would be if they would be sad, if they would be stressed, if they would be angry, then they might not be able to think in a creative manner. So, creativity is also very much influenced by the emotions and the mood of the individual, but there is two schools of thought on the relationship. Researchers suggest that people in good mood tends to be more creative than people in the bad mood, and organizations are working largely on this aspect, how to make their employees happy, how to make them more cheerful, to bring out the best in them. So supervisors should actively try keeping employees happy, because doing so helps in creating good moods, right, and which in turns will be more and more creative in their work. Then motivation is again important, right? How this motivation is being related with the emotions and moods of an employee, right? A person who is happy would feel motivated towards the work, right? So agents in the good mood were found to be more helpful towards their co-workers and also feel better about themselves, right? So these kind of a people who are having this kind of an understanding where they are keeping themselves happy and also creating a better workplace, right, where they are helping with each other, they are relaxing people and feeling more involved in each other, creates a motivated environment in the organization, right. So it is important for people to provide feedback, right, and giving people performance feedback, whether it is real or fake, influences their mood, which then influences their motivation. So it has also been said that to motivate your employees, it is also important to provide them the feedback. Rather it is fake or it is real, but if you are providing the good feedback to the individuals in the organization, this will cheer up their mood, their emotions will be good, they would be happy in their mood, and this will motivate them better to show their performances. Since we have seen that emotions have a lot of impact on the performance of an employee. So motivated employees will definitely perform better. Leadership. Leadership is again a position of a leader is very important in any workplace. Okay, since a leader has a follower and people will only follow person when they are able to relate with the person, right, or whether they have some kind of a personality, charismatic personality, where you would like to follow the other person. So people putting in the good mood makes good sense. Okay, so leader who focuses on inspirational goals generate greater optimism, cooperation and enthusiasm in employees, leading to more positive social interaction with co-workers and customers. So definitely leadership is required to be in a position where the leader shows happy mood and spreading the happiness among the team, where they could be able to make that kind of an individual where positive environment could be set up, and leader are perceived as more effective when they share positive emotions, right. If a leader is sharing positive emotion or a leader is passing on the positive activities in the organization, then all the team members working under him will always be happy and cheerful, and they would be able to produce better result as compared to the leaders who are angry, who are always showing stress amongst the individuals whom they are leading, right. So it has always been said that happy leaders produces happy team and happy team produces happy customers. Negotiation is again important, right. We know we have to negotiate at many point of time in the organization, right. So manager also plays a role of a good negotiator in the organization. So again we can say that emotions plays a significant role in negotiating things. But here we need to understand, like we have talked various aspects just now, where we are always saying that positive things are creating positive performances in the organization. That is true. But for the negotiation, we are saying sometimes negative emotions are also important while negotiating. Being positive always might not be bringing things in your favor, right. So for a negotiator, it is important to have both the set of emotions, sometime positive and sometime negative, to understand the situation. Because if you are showing the happy understanding of negotiation, then certain situations would be there that things might not be in your favor, right. So to understand the situation, what kind of a negotiation it is, what kind of a emotion does it require, accordingly a negotiator has to have the good understanding of those aspects, where we can also add upon the emotional intelligent aspect, where a manager need to understand how to emotionally intelligently deal with their emotions in understanding the situation, and what sort of emotion they need to reflect during the negotiation situation, right? Sometime positive and sometime negative. Then here we are going to talk about the customer service. So customer service is workers' emotional states influence the level of customer services they give, right? So you are dealing with the customer and the state of your emotions and mood will reflect what kind of services you would be giving, right? If you are feeling happy inside, you would be able to serve your customers better, right? So this is important. Customer satisfaction is important for all the organization. So your customer will be satisfied with your behavior, they will be happy, and this will this will give business, this will give a repeated business to your organization, where the customers are coming again to you because you are dealing with them with a happy mood, right? You are greeting them cheerfully, you are showing your full enthusiasm with the customer. So customer services also been very much reflected through the emotions and mood of an individual. Here is one more word which we are going to have our understanding on, that is your emotional contagion, right? Emotional contagion is the process by which people emotions are caused by the emotions of others. See, this is important, right? Emotions are not only impacting you, it is also impacting others, right? So it is generally been said our mood and emotions also been defined by the company we are in or the people whom we are talking to, right? If you are talking to a person who is having a positive mindset, a person is happy and is very cheerful, is very joyful, then you also feel happy, right? Because your mood also changes, you also feel associated with the person. And on the other hand, if you are feeling happy and you are having interaction with a person who is very, very sad, very negative, talking, very stressful, then you might also have that kind of an impact on you, right? So emotional contingencies related to that aspect only, right? So the employee's way of dealing with the customer will pass on to the customers also, okay? So dealing with the employees with a happy and the cheerful state of mind will bring your customers more happy and cheerful, and this will have a better impact on your business. Work-life conflict. Work-life conflict is one thing which many of us have gone through and we have seen as well, right? So people at the workplace sometimes feel stressed or they might feel angry, and usually some people also bring the same kind of mood and emotions at their home. And the common saying which is being said in this regard is never take your work with you at home, right? So if you are bringing your work at home and you are dealing with the same set of emotions and mood at your home, then it will going to create a conflict, right? So you need to understand as an individual, your personal life is different and your workplace energy requirement is different. But as an individual, people are not able to detach themselves with this set of understanding, but we need to understand how we can intelligently handle such emotions, right? We should not bring our personal life moods and emotions to our workplaces, because ultimately it is going to hinder our performances. And if we are having wrong if we have a bad day in the organization, we should also understand not to bring it at home, because ultimately it is also going to have an impact on the working of our relationship. So this needs to be understood. Further, if we talk about unethical workplace behavior, if the mood of an individual is not being kept correctly, right? So this is going to have this counterproductive work behavior. So people with the negative emotions, people with the negative mindset, right, who are engaged in the short term determinant behavior, right? Because as we know, like we have studied so far, positive energy creates positive results, right? Likewise, negative energy will also have a negative impact in the working of the organization. So one need to ensure, one need to understand that we need to have positive people in the organization, and these negative people will have a counterpart where they bring in the negative impact in the organization, and this could also sometimes lead to serious trouble, right, where you are not talking nicely to your co-workers, where you are getting sometimes negative people also blame other people for whatever wrong things they are doing, right? So angry people look for other people for blame of their bad mood, right? They interpret others' behavior as hostile, and they also have trouble considering the other's point of view. So these kind of situations will need to be understood in contrast to the emotions and mood of an individual, because unethical workplace behavior will be shown if a person with the negative mindset is working in the organization. Safety and injury at workplace. Again, these are important aspects because every organization wants to provide a safe working environment for their people. So bad moods can contribute to injury at work in several ways. So people who are having the bad minds, bad mood or having the negative, impact and understanding, they need to ensure that individuals in the negative mood tends to be more anxious. They are more anxious, and which can make them less able to cope effectively with hazards, right? So this is also being seen if the negative people are around in the organization, then there might be possibility of having injury at the workplace, because they will not be addressing you, they will not be having some kind of a cordial relationship, you will always be fearful, right? So because they have that kind of a pessimistic approach, okay, which they always bring in the organization, and it is not pleasant situation, sometimes it could be more threatening and stressful also. Now coming to the summarization of this session, if we talk about emotions and moods are both important part of any organization, understanding how the individuals are behaving, how the individuals are going to have their impact on the working, right? But they are also different. Moods are more general and long lived, where emotions are discrete and short lived. So one has able to understand the difference between the mood and emotion, right? The another important aspect which we have discussed here is the surface level acting and the deep level acting. Surface level acting is where we are feeling something from inside and we are reflecting the other behavior outside, right? Whereas deep level acting is we are reflecting the same thing which we are feeling from inside, okay? So we need to understand at different point of time also, whatever we are feeling from inside, we need not have to reflect. So in this session we have also talked about emotional intelligence, how intelligently we would be dealing out with our emotions. We need to understand the situation, we have to see our situation as well as the other situation where we are drawing the meaningful results from them, and accordingly we are keeping our behavior, right? In service sector, usually such kind of study becomes more evident and more important, because generally the nature of work is dealing with the customers, and like we have said that the energy which you are having will also pass on to your customer. Like I said, whatever the mood you would be having, your customer would be reflecting that particular thing. So all these things needs to be taken care of in the organization, considering the emotions and mood of an individual plays a very important role in setting up their right performances. Moving further, we need to understand the implication for managers, right? How it is important for the manager to understand these aspects and how they would be able to deal the better workforce in the organization. So one has to recognize that emotion and moods and effects are the natural part of the workplace, you cannot segregate them. Since in the last we have discussed that one person should not bring things at their home, right? Whatever work they are doing in the organization, they should not be bringing at the home, and their personal life should not be reflected at their workplace. But it is different, it is difficult to separate both the things from an individual, because that individual is going through each and every aspect. But definitely such practices like emotional intelligence, how to have the impact of these these emotions would also reflect how you are going to deal with it. So emotional experience is volatile and unpredictable, one need to understand how this person is dealing with it. We have talked about moral emotions as well, right, where person has certain values and belief, according to them what is right and what is not, what is wrong is also being understood. So as a manager you have to consider how employees may react announcing the new policies. You need to ensure and you need to make them more participative and involved whenever you are bringing anything new in the organization, so that you would be able to have a positive and a positive feeling and positive impact of all such things in the organization. So these are some references from which this session has been taken up. I hope all of you have understood the concepts of today's session. Thank you very much.